I don't normally describe myself as a polyglot, even though in theory I am. If you speak two languages, you're bilingual. If you speak three languages, you're trilingual. If you speak more than three, you're a polyglot. But I have this idea that to call myself a polyglot, I should be able to speak 10 languages. So I'll give you some context about myself. I grew up speaking Spanish and Catalan. I speak Spanish with my whole family. I'm from Barcelona. I basically, like, my whole academic journey has been in Catalan, except for university, which was in English. And then, as for second languages, I speak English, I speak French, and I'm currently learning Chinese, but I can't speak Chinese, like, literally. I'm still like a very early stage. In French, it is not as fluent and I don't feel as confident as when I'm speaking English. But I do have very good listening, not very good writing because I haven't really worked on it, but I have very good reading and listening skills in French, and I can get by in conversation. I've also tried to learn Italian, but I didn't stick to it. I also tried to learn Norwegian and I didn't stick to it. Italian, I can understand a lot. Like, I think my listening is pretty good. I cannot speak for the life of me. I cannot speak in Italian. Even though Spanish and Italian are very similar, the grammar is still different. The verbs are different, which makes it difficult for you to actually speak it if you don't study the language. So I don't speak Italian. Norwegian, I learned because I lived in Norway for a while and I was like, I want to learn the language. But then I moved back to Spain. I do remember stuff, but I cannot communicate. I mean, I couldn't communicate then. My level was not good enough and I didn't stick to it. So my Norwegian is like, it's non-existent now. If I see something in Norwegian, I know it's Norwegian. So in that sense, it is quite cool, but don't ask me to speak Norwegian because I can't. I wanted to share my thoughts and the polyglot community because I have mixed feelings. Even though I love languages, I'm also a translator. And I'm very aware of the fact that when you learn too many languages, you can end up neglecting your L1, your first language. You know, time is limited. And personally, I like to use my working languages every day. And by use, I mean I like to consume content in these languages every single day. Right now, my working languages are English and Spanish. So every single day, I either watch, listen, read something in these languages because I like to keep learning. I don't want to stop doing that. And I'm aware that if I were to, start learning a new language, it is an investment of my time. So even though I would love to, explore with more languages, I'm not sure if I am going to do it. I'm also not sure I will do it to the level I did with English, for example. For me, English was an obsession. Like, it really was an obsession. French, for example, I think it's a beautiful language, but I don't have the actual time to get very, very proficient right now. Chinese, I'm learning it, but like very slowly. I'm doing a course now. I will try to stick to it, but I don't really know. And so yeah, I feel happy that we have the internet now and you can actually see people that like the things you like, and you can connect and you can share, you can help each other. I think that's really great. But I feel like sometimes I have definitely felt that because I'm not learning maybe 10 languages right now, then I'm not part of the polyglot community. I've also experienced this about the book community, about books and the people who read books online, because I always feel like I'm not reading the books everyone is reading. Maybe I'm not reading as much, but this is I believe that I need to work on myself. It's not like the community itself, I think. It's just that I need to accept myself, and I need to accept myself for the things that I do and for the things that I enjoy. Every person is different, so I shouldn't be comparing myself to maybe a person, maybe is learning like 5 languages at the same time, but that doesn't mean that my experience is less valid. So I think it's not so much the polyglot community, but it's something that I just need to work on myself. I've said for years that I want to learn Italian, but I can't seem to get into it really, and I don't know then why I want to do it. I mean, I do love the Italian language, I think it's beautiful, but I've also experienced that when I started learning Italian, my French got worse. So, for the time being, I'm not really going to learn new languages, and I don't know if I will in the future, to be honest. Right now, I know Chinese is going to take me a long time, and I know it's going to be a very, very long journey, and I still want to work on my French, and I still want to keep improving my English, just like I improve my Catalan and my Spanish, because that's the thing, you never stop learning. And obviously, once you get to a stage that you are pretty fluent, once you get to a stage that you feel quite comfortable, it's obviously easier, the investment is not as huge. It's not like when you start, when you're maybe intermediate, then you do need to get very involved with the language. And I think that's why I don't want to start with more languages, because I'm aware that it's a huge investment of my time. And I think for me, it's that I would rather speak maybe not as many languages, but that I speak them well. I can say that I'm fluent. And I know some people prefer to just know a little bit of a lot of languages, but I think that's just not for me. What really got me into language learning was consuming content. And when you start, it's actually pretty hard to consume content because you can't really follow. And you do need to consume content, but you don't really enjoy it in the same way. Like for me now, I'm listening to a podcast in English and I feel really good. I feel great that I can appreciate, connect with a whole different culture. And I also enjoy listening. I really enjoy listening to native speakers and talking to them. I don't know about you, but I'm very obsessed about, and I've been for a really long time, I'm very obsessed about native speakers, because literally every time I have an interaction with someone, I will learn something, or maybe I will be exposed to something that I haven't before, that I haven't in a long time. And just the way they pronounce, the way they use certain expressions, certain idioms, I just really love it. Maybe my journey with languages is not going to look like every other polyglot, but that doesn't mean that I am not one. And just because maybe I'm learning Chinese and I'm taking it slow, because that's another thing, you always get people telling you that if you did this, then you would get fluent very quickly, and if you took this course, then you would actually learn the language. But I've come to realize that you just need to be okay with it, and you don't need to explain yourself. And if you've been learning a language for a really long time, like, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean that you're not capable of learning it or anything. You're taking it slow, and that's okay if you want that. I'm really enjoying this taking it slow journey and not feeling the rush of, okay, I need to get really fluent like very quickly. When they say get fluent in 3 months and things like that, I don't really buy into it. I think every person is different. I do think that methodology can make a difference, and that if you work with the right people, you are going to learn faster. But I also believe that there are a lot of factors that come into play, and that for you to learn a language, you need to be willing to put in really like time. And the people that say that it's not that difficult and that you can just listen to something and you will learn it. I think that maybe it works for them, but for me, I know that that doesn't work for me because I've experienced it with English and because I know how hard I've worked to have what I have now. I've just decided that I'm going to take it easy and that I want to enjoy the journey. I would love to hear from you, and if you've also felt maybe that you're not part of the community because maybe you're not learning loads of languages, maybe not like in the sense of being called a polyglot, but just being part of the language learning community. When I was learning English and just English, I remember I didn't feel like I was entitled to say that I liked language learning because I only liked English, in the sense that because I was only learning English, and you would see all of these people that maybe already spoke 5 languages. So if that's you, I also want to include you here because your experience is not less valid just because maybe you're learning your first, second language. Your experience is as valid and it's as interesting as anyone else's because every story, every experience is different. And I think you should share it and you should just come to terms with the fact that it's going to be different, but that's what makes it special. Do let me know in the comments if you've also had these feelings, if you've also maybe at times felt that you're not good enough to be part of the language learning community. Let me know what languages you're learning and what your first language is.